What's up YouTube, and welcome back to today's video. First off, hope you're all having a great day today. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing my best to be a NASCAR know-it-all. I'm going to be showing you the stats from the past 4 years at the Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm also going to be looking at each race on a 1.5 mile racetrack this year from the 2018 season, show you the results, and who I think is going to win the championship tonight. So if you've been living under a rock, or maybe you just don't pay much attention to NASCAR, you don't like how it's run, or you're just a strictly dirt-only guy, then this video will be perfect for you because I'll be able to quickly catch you up on what's going on. And maybe if you didn't know, tonight is the final race of the season during the NASCAR year, and it's at Homestead Miami Speedway, and there's 4 people that are eligible to win the Sprint Cup Series championship. Joey Logano, and then we have the big 3, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch, which this video might be a little biased because I like Kyle Busch. But so off of statistics in this video, I'm going to show you who do I think is going to win, who's going to be looking the best, who has momentum going into this race, and who has been good at Miami before. So the race tonight at Homestead is going to be one to watch. After watching last year's and the years before that, Homestead's a very racy track. You're able to get right up on the wall, you're able to run the bottom and even the middle. It just depends on what grooves really come in, and it turns into a great race. It's not just follow the leader right around the bottom. And with all of the big 3, I know a lot of people coming into this really didn't think all of the big 3 would be in the Final 4, but it happened. And since all of them have won a Sprint Cup Series championship before, I think they're going to want the second one even more. That's why tonight is going to be exciting. And you got to remember, Joey Logano has not won a Cup championship yet, so he's also going to be very hungry, and it's just going to be whoever is going to be best under pressure and can just get it done at the end. But a lot more goes into the race than just that. I mean, you're going to have pit stops, you're going to have long runs, you're going to have short runs, you're going to have restarts maybe in the closing or early on, just lots of things that go into track position and the little mistakes that can happen, like pit road especially, where if you get a loose lug nut, or if you have a loose tire that runs away, you ever see that, or the gas can attached to the car. So a lot's going to go into tonight, and then there's also a lot of stats. Looking in, you can kind of see who has momentum going into this race. I mean, all of them, of course, do because they're in it, but who has been really good on 1.5 miles this year and who really haven't been. So that's what we're going to be covering in this video. So let's get started with the past 4 years' results at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So we are going to be looking at the results from the past 4 years at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Starting in 2014, NASCAR introduced this new format where you'd be eliminated through rounds throughout the chase, and it would come down to 4 drivers at Homestead, and whoever finished the highest would be your champion. This definitely provided a much more of an exciting format, where their old one, it would just be 12 drivers, there was no rounds, no eliminating at all. Just over time, people would get so far out of the points that by Homestead, the leader would usually, maybe second place would be close, or usually the leader would just have to finish 36th or 25th or better, and he would clinch the championship. Unless it was 2011 when Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards tied. That was probably the most exciting year I had seen with that format. But otherwise, this has just been much better. Starting in 2014, they did this. Kyle Busch was 39th in that race, so not a good finish for KB. Martin Truex Jr. came home 17th. Kevin Harvick, though, was crowned the 2014 Sprint Cup Series champion that year and won the race. Joey Logano came home 16th. Moving on to 2015, though, Kyle Busch went from having a terrible year at Homestead in 2014 to winning the race the following year and the 2015 Sprint Cup Series championship. That was awesome. I can remember watching the laps winding down. Kyle was leading, and Kevin Harvick was fast. He ended up finishing second and kind of closing in on Kyle, but I just remember jumping for joy when Kyle crossed the finish line. MTJ, he ended up finishing 12th that race, and Joey Logano with a solid top 5 finish in 4th. Then in 2016, Kyle Busch right outside the top 5 with the 6th place finish. Martin Truex Jr. had his worst finish in the last 4 years, coming home 36th. And then Happy Harvick, once again being very consistent at Homestead, he came home 3rd. So between 2014 and 2016, Happy Harvick was on the podium all 3 years. That's not an easy thing to do at any track in any series, whether it's Truck Series, Xfinity, or NASCAR's top level. Joey Logano, he came home 4th for the 2nd year in a row also. And then the most recent year, 2017, where Martin Truex Jr. got it done at the Homestead Miami Speedway, which leading up, these past 4 years, MTJ had not had that many great finishes, his best being 12th, so not even inside the top 10. But he's able to break through for Furniture Row Racing and get it done and get them their first ever championship. Kyle Busch wound up second, and that was also a great finish to the end. I remember Kyle just running the wall, Martin Truex Jr. trying to find as much grip as possible out front, and Kyle was really trying to run him down in a good, clean race, and definitely it was way more exciting than, 36th and you win the championship, you clinch it. So it came down right to the final laps. Happy Harvick came home 4th, and Joey Logano right outside the top 5 in 6th. So if I were to base tonight's winner off these stats alone, just looking at Homestead Miami since they started the new format, it's got to be Happy Harvick. I mean, look at his results. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, not finishing outside the top 4 in the last 4 years, being very consistent, and really on any mile and a half, Kevin Harvick is just right there. He's always in contention to win. Whether he goes a lap down early on or he has an issue, he always gets right back in the field, passes a ton of cars quickly, and makes his way to the front and is always there at the end. So my first prediction after looking at that first set of results are, if you want to win this championship out of these 4 drivers, they have to win the race. I really think if you're going to win the championship, you're going to have to win the race. In previous years, we haven't seen some guy roll around and finish 7th and win the championship. I mean, just like the truck race was a prime example of it on Friday night. Brett Moffitt won the race, and therefore he was the champion. I just don't think you can run 2nd, 3rd, or 4th and win the championship, especially in the Cup Series. But anything can happen, and maybe this will be the first year where we'll see something like that happen. Now, if that were the situation, though, where the winner of the championship runs 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, I can tell you who I think is going to win the race. And this has just been someone who has been so incredibly fast at Homestead. They're not in the Final Four this year, but they're actually, from where I race locally, that's where they got started. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Young Money Kyle Larson. Kyle runs great at Miami. And I think one of the reasons he runs so well there is the track is there's lots of grooves. There's a bottom, there's a top, sometimes a middle. And he likes to get just like 6 inches away from that wall. I mean, sometimes just bouncing off of it. So the track really suits his driving style. The past 3 years there at Homestead, his worst finish is 5th. Last year he finished 3rd, and the year before that he finished 2nd, and then in 2015 he finished 5th. So he's been very, very fast at Homestead, and I would not be surprised if he won the race tonight. So that's my second prediction so far in this video. If Logano or Truex or Harvick or Busch, if they finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th and win the championship, you're going to want to keep your eye on that Target 42 Chevrolet, because he's probably the guy leading the race and he's going to win. Now let's take a look at each Logano's, Harvick's, Truex, and Busch's stats at 1.5 miles this season. They ran 10 races, well, technically 11 including the All-Star race, but I didn't want to include that because they ran the All-Star package, which I feel like kind of had an effect, and plus, I mean, the race doesn't even matter, but out of the 10 points races they ran at 1.5 miles, let's check out the stats. So now looking at the first 5 of the 10 races that took place on 1.5 mile racetracks during the 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series season. And one thing to note just before looking at all these stats, each driver is going to have a few bad races, but overall, all 4 of the people, and especially the big 3, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch, they are just so good on 1.5 mile racetracks. One of the notes to also add is out of those 10 races, 8 of them were won by the big 3 between Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch. Only 2 were won by outsiders, and that was Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott. So looking at Atlanta first, Kyle Busch ended up 7th, Martin Truex Jr. 5th, Happy Harvick got the win, and 6th was Joey Logano. Then Charlotte, Kyle Busch got the win. 2nd was Martin Truex Jr. 40th for Kevin Harvick, not a great day there, not too great of a day for Joey Logano either, as he came home in 22nd. And then at Kyle Busch's hometown, he wound up running 2nd that day, 4th for Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick won that race, and 7th to Joey Logano. So already looking at these first 3 races, I feel like I see a pattern. Whenever Kyle Busch doesn't win, it's either Martin Truex Jr. or Kevin Harvick, or when Kevin doesn't win, it's Martin Truex Jr. or Kyle Busch. I mean, just when one wins, the other one answers, or when both of them don't win, then Martin Truex answers. It's just all 3 of them. That's why they're called the Big 3. Then at Texas, Kyle Busch got the win. Martin Truex Jr. had a pretty unfortunate day. He wound up 37th. But then 2nd was Kevin Harvick, and 6th, Joey Logano. So if Kyle Busch wins the race, usually Kevin Harvick is running 2nd as well. So they're always right there running up front. And then at Kansas for the 5th race that was run on a 1.5 miles, Kyle Busch was 10th, Martin Truex Jr. 2nd, Happy Harvick got the win, and then Joey's best finish so far on a 1.5 miles this season, rounding out on the podium in 3rd. Now for the second half of the 10 races ran on 1.5 mile racetracks during the 2018 season. Kyle Busch got the win at Chicagoland, Martin Truex Jr. ran 4th, Happy Harvick on the podium in 3rd, and then 8th for Joey Logano. Then at Kentucky, Kyle Busch ran 4th, Martin Truex Jr. got the win that day in dominant fashion. Kevin Harvick ran 5th, so right, a good top 5 day for them, and then 10th for Joey Logano. Then the fall race at Las Vegas, Kyle Busch ran 7th, Martin Truex Jr. 3rd, 39th for Kevin Harvick. You really don't see days like that for the 4 team much, but every race team's going to have that. And then 4th for Joey Logano that day. 17th was Kyle Busch at the fall race at Texas, 9th for Martin Truex Jr. Kevin Harvick won this race, but you guys got to remember, they took away his points. They basically took away the win, but at the same time, they really didn't. They just, that took him out of the top 4. So this is where he didn't pass post-race inspection after winning the race, and they found it to be something so big that they took away the win. He was out of the final 4, and he had to race his way in on points. So that was a controversial thing. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier in the video, but just like I said, let me know your thoughts on that situation and how that happened. And then Joey Logano was on the podium that day in 3rd. And then the final 1.5 miles, well, this actually took place before Texas, but Kansas, Kyle Busch ran 2nd that day. Martin Truex Jr. was 5th, 12th for Kevin Harvick, and 8th for Joey Logano. That was one of the 2 races where the winner was not one of the big 3. It was Chase Elliott that day. So after looking at those results, my opinion stays the same. The big 3, all 3 of them are just going to be incredibly fast at Homestead. After looking at what they've done on 1.5 miles, how those 3 together have won 8 of those 10 races on that type of track, they're going to be tough to beat. You know, all the other field has their work cut out for them. Whether you start on the pole or whether you start 20th, you're going to have to get by the 18, the 78, and the 4 car. Logano, I think he'll still be fast. He has definitely been consistent, but he hasn't just been winning a lot on 1.5 miles. I mean, he didn't even win a race this year on a 1.5 miles. He has ran good on the podium a few times, but it seems like he's really running anywhere from 6th to 10th. He hasn't been able to break through and consistently run in the top 5. So tonight is going to be an interesting race. I'm going to be stay tuned. You guys know, though, who my pick is. I'm really rooting for Kyle Busch. I would love to see Kyle get his 2nd career championship. He's been my favorite driver ever since I was little. I mean, that's why my number is 18, and I love watching Kyle. Now, if Kyle does win tonight, I'm really hoping he looks at the camera and does this. But anyway, I wish the best of luck to any of those 4 guys. If Busch doesn't win it, I would love to see MTJ win. Martin Truex Jr. and Furniture Row Racing, they really deserve this championship, especially what's happening after the season, how Furniture Row's done. It'd be definitely a good way to end. If Kevin Harvick wins, it is what it is. I mean, he did kind of cheat a few races ago. I don't know. That's just my opinion. No, I mean, I like Kevin. I don't really have any reason not to like him. I mean, he's a heck of a wheelman, but I definitely would pick Busch and then Martin Truex Jr. over him. And then if Logano won, I wouldn't really be surprised, but I feel like it would be a little bit of an underdog. I mean, to beat the big 3, that's definitely going to be tough at Homestead, and we'll just have to watch and see tonight. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share. Let me know if you like these kind of statistic type videos. I had to do some research, get on my computer, find out how these guys have been doing on 1.5 miles at Homestead, and who's kind of not in the 4 people that has a chance at winning. I think that 42 car, he's going to be fast tonight as well. But anyway, we'll just have to watch and see for ourselves. I'm going to go play some iRacing with Bennett, watch the race later, and hope you guys all have a good night. See you guys later. Deuces.